We bring in San Jose State head football coach Mike MacIntyre here in our Sports Page Summer of Football. Hey, Coach MacIntyre, it's Vince Ferrara and Jesse Smithey. Good to talk to you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How's everything going today?
Good. Coach, you're a Georgia Tech grad.
Yep.
And also spent some time, 4 years at Tennessee Martin.
Yes.
You began your coaching career at the University of Georgia. Kind of talk about your time spent here in the Southeast and how that some of those influences help you get to where you're at now.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I spent my entire life in the Southeast. I was grew up a coach's son. My dad was a head coach at Vanderbilt University and at UT Martin for a while, and Nashville, Tennessee is what we call home. All my family lives there. All my wife's family lives there. So deep rooted in SEC football and ACC football, and so that's kind of where I cut my roots and cut my teeth, and just love that area of the country, and then also that brand of football is exciting.
We're talking to Mike MacIntyre, entering his third year as the head coach at San Jose State for the Spartans. Coach, where would you guys have a lot of players on preseason watch lists. Where would you say the strength of your football team is?
The strength of our football team would be our receivers and our tight end. I think in our conference that no one has better than we do at those two positions. Some maybe have one guy at a receiver position that might be better than a couple of our guys, but an overall group, I think we're very strong.
Coach, looking ahead at the schedule this year, I know there's probably some pretty demanding games early on in the season. What does that do for a program like San Jose State? I know playing tougher competition is going to make your team better, but to get off maybe to a rough start, can that also work against your team sometimes?
I think that you always want to try to get off to the best start you can and keep it rolling. But we play Stanford right here, that's local and 20 miles away, and it's a good game for the Bay Area and a lot of media exposure, and it's on national television for us and the Pac-12 network and DirecTV and all that. So it gives us a lot of exposure. But Stanford's a little bit different player than they had 10 years ago. They have legitimate big-time football players and have had great recruiting classes. They've kind of changed what they're doing over there. So it's a little bit tougher hurdle than it used to be because San Jose State used to beat them quite often. So now we'll play much better than we did last year. Our kids were embarrassed the way we played last year. That was the only game that we weren't in all year. And so we need to go up there and play well. So, that would be the biggest one. And then, the rest of the games that we're playing from then on, I would say we match up pretty well with.
You're talking about that Stanford game, and I won't even throw out the score there, but haven't seen Andrew Luck up close, and everybody considered him such a shoe-in for instant NFL success, can't-miss guy. And you haven't spent some time in Tennessee at Tennessee Martin. I'm sure you heard a lot about Peyton Manning. Can you draw similarities between the two, and do you think it's dangerous to label a guy as a can't-miss guy for the NFL?
Well, I think it's very dangerous. The 5 years I spent in the NFL, there's a lot of can't-miss guys in every draft. And a lot of them miss. And there's a lot of things that go into that. And one of the things is the team and the organization that surrounds him. And, he's walking into a situation where that organization is really down right now. And there's not a lot of talent around him. And so they're trying to build it. And but I'm being around Andrew Luck a little bit up here in the Bay Area a few times at different meetings, at different things I saw him at. He truly is a high-character young man. He truly does put the team first, and he is very, very intelligent. He'll do the right things off the field, so they won't have anything like that affecting him on the field. So I think he's got a great shot to be very, very successful. Now, the beginning is how he starts out, I don't know. It depends on the type of team he's going to be surrounding him, and I think that's going to be a little tough for him, it looks like to me, the first couple of years.
San Jose State head football coach Mike MacIntyre joining us here on our Sports Page Summer of Football, previewing teams going into 2012. Speaking of the NFL, you have a former NFL great on your coaching staff going into his second year. Talk about former Dallas Cowboy Jim Jeffcoat on your coaching staff.
Yeah, Jim and I became very good friends when we coached together at the Dallas Cowboys under Bill Parcells, and he had the opportunity to try to hire him here a year ago, and was able to lure him away from the University of Houston, and I'm really excited about what he brings to the table for us, not only coaching ability-wise, but just his attitude and his enthusiasm with the kids, and he really does a great job with them. And he is. We tease him all the time. He barely made the top 50 Cowboys of all time. He made number 48, I think it was. But that's phenomenal, and he's a great guy and doing a great job for us.
Hit on some of those guys that have made the preseason watch list. There's a lot of them, but you guys have a pretty talented roster.
Yeah, well, we Ryan Otten is a tight end who I think is a legitimate. He was all WAC tight end for us last year, first team. He's first preseason first team this year. He's the best tight end in the WAC, and I think he's a guy that legitimately has a shot at playing at the next level. And really, really like Ryan. Can really run. He's 6'5.5", almost 6'6". He's 240-something pounds and has great hands and great body. And I think, the way they're using tight ends in the NFL now, he'll have a shot doing that. On defense, we have a young man named Travis Johnson, who's a second or third leading sacker in America coming back, number 1 in the WAC. He had 9.5 sacks last year, more than 15 or 16 tackles for loss, blocked a couple field goals. He's just really a good football player. And then we have Noel Grigsby is our leading receiver. He'll shatter every receiving record in the history of San Jose State this year as a junior, and can make a lot of plays for us. And so Keith Smith is another linebacker that started for us for 2 years. It'll be a junior, and he was WAC defensive player. He was WAC freshman of the year a year ago. Travis Johnson is preseason WAC defensive player of the year. So we feel good about a lot of our guys. We got a few other holes that we need to fill up. One of them being quarterback, but we have some very capable players there. So we're in the process of getting that started Friday.
Mike, I apologize. I don't have your roster in front of me, so I can't really get the makeup of your players and where all they're from. But just how difficult is it to coach or to recruit in California, where you have USC and UCLA and San Diego State and Stanford, and the list goes on? Do you have to recruit? I mean, are you able to recruit locally, or do you have to go outside of California?
No, we can recruit California. I'll just kind of put it in perspective. That's one of the reasons I took the job, to be honest with you. There's more high schools that play football in California than any state in America. There's more junior colleges that play football than any state in America. There's only 7 Division I schools that play football in California. That's it. I think there's 7 Division I in Tennessee. There's 1AA. There's only 2 1AAs that give scholarships in the whole state of California. So there's only 9 scholarship football in the entire state. There's more than that in the whole state of Tennessee. And there's only, 300 high schools that play football. There's over 1,100 high schools that play football in California. So, and then there's only 25 schools west of Texas. There's 100 schools east of Texas. So everybody's got to fly in here 5 to 6 hours. That costs a lot of money for a kid to go away. So we're having a lot of success recruiting, and it's basically supply and demand. And there's just not enough supply for the demand of players out here, and that want to stay in the West and their families be able to watch them play some. And so I think that we're getting better and better because we're acquiring very good talent, and we have full. Last year's our first year to ever have 85 scholarships, and so we've got 85 now. So we're able to reload and keep rebuilding. And I think even a couple more years down the road, I think we should be pretty good.
Talking college football with San Jose State head coach Mike MacIntyre. Coach, do you have a relationship with anyone on the Tennessee staff, including Derek Dooley?
I know Derek Dooley pretty well. His dad was a coach. My dad was a coach in the SEC. When I was a GA at Georgia, he was in law school at Georgia. And I know Derek pretty well. There's some other, of course, David Cutcliffe, who was there for years, is my main mentor. He's one of my very best friends and the guy that I look up to tremendously. I coached for him at Duke and I coached for him at Ole Miss, and I know he has a lot of Tennessee connections, to say the least. I'm trying to think. Yes, one of your graduate assistants there, Gary Bernardi's son, our offensive line coach's son's a graduate assistant at Tennessee. He played at Fresno. So I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head right now, but I do know Derek.
One last thing on David Cutcliffe. You well know, as you well know, he was working a lot with Peyton Manning in the offseason.
Yeah.
He's worked with Eli before. Were you kind of one of those guys that had the scoop on what was happening with those workouts? Did you know that along the way while everyone else didn't?
I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I did know that I do know that David and Peyton and Eli, talk quite often. I did know that David was talking to Peyton quite often. I did not know that Peyton was there or anything like that. Coach kept all of that really, really secret. But I know that he was doing a lot working with Peyton. They're extremely close, and they're both great people, and the whole Manning family, Archie and Eli and Peyton and them I know pretty well from our days at Ole Miss and all the different things like that.
San Jose State Spartans open up the season September 1st at Stanford. Coach, really appreciate it. Great to visit with you once again. Thanks so much. Good luck this season.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.